What's up mga kati? This is your Tsaastrologer Gemini na si Bern.
This is your Tsaastrologer na Scorpio na si Nikki.
This is your Astrologer na Sagittarius na si Inye.
And this is your Astrologer na Virgo na si VP. And welcome to
Tsaastrology, the podcast.
This is the show where we talk about anything and everything under the sun, moon, and stars. So, whatever your zodiac sign is, we'll talk about you when the time comes. Kung kailan yon, ang universe lang ang nakakaalam.
Mabuhay! And welcome back to another episode of Traitor, the podcast. In this season, we're talking about the Major Arcana, but for this episode, debility. And for today's video, ang pag-uusapan naman ay ang Minor Arcana.
Yeah.
Kala nyo kakalimutan namin yon? Hindi.
Siyempre hindi.
Tarot pag wala yun. So yeah, and I am one of your hosts, Ruff. Astrologer Gemini na si Bern.
And ako ang inyong Tsaastrologer na Scorpio na si Nikki.
And I'm your astrologer na Virgo na si VP. And for this episode, like what Bern mentioned, magda-dive na tayo sa Minor Arcana. Pero, syempre, hindi na 1 card or 2 cards per episode because, girl, madami
That's gonna
ito.
take
Gusto nyo talaga mag-extend yung season na to, na? Like forever and ever.
Parang mga 3 years yata bago kami matapos. Charot. Hindi kasi, since Minor Arcana din naman, di ba, the meanings are a little bit more minor. It's more directive, specific. Saka, medyo malayo na talaga siya sa overall story natin. So, tapos na natin yung story of the Fool sa Major Arcana. Now, we're going to the Swords. Yan. Pero si Bern ang bahala sa atin this episode. Oh, Swords.
Sword. S-word.
But before we go there, medyo a quick overview on what the Minor Arcana is, the Minor Arcana, or the Lesser Arcana. They're like, parang of the 78 cards in the tarot deck, the majority of them belong to this Arcana, the Minor Arcana. But just because they're called minor doesn't mean these cards have a minor influence in your life. So, ang total number niya ay 56 Minor Arcana cards. They reflect the trials and tribulations that we experience on a daily basis. Even though the Minor Arcana cards are called minor, it doesn't mean that these tarot cards won't have a significant impact in your life. Especially kung nakuha nyo ay 3 of Swords.
Correct. Yun specific yun.
Please.
These tarot cards relate to what's happening in your daily life and can offer insight into how your present situation is affecting you and what steps you need to take to manifest your goals. The Minor Arcana cards typically have a temporary influence. That is, they represent an energy that is moving through your life right now, and that can be easily changed depending on the actions you take. Remember that?
Okay.
Sabi nga ni diba? Ni Galadriel, even the smallest present can change the course of the future. Yes.
Well, the reference.
Ayon. There are 4 different card suits that make up the Minor Arcana: the Wands, Cups, Swords, and Pentacles. Every one of these suits contains 14 cards, 10 numbered cards, and 4 cards called court cards. That includes the Page, Knight, Queen, and King. Each of these 4 suits represents a different area of your life, so you know where to direct this guidance when one of these cards shows up in your tarot reading.
So, ano nga, diba? Parang 1 to 10 or Ace to 10, and then Knight, Page, Queen, and King.
Correct.
So, pero may ibang, usually may ibang tawag, diba? Like, the Page is sometimes basta something else.
Fuck, I forgot.
Marami siyang
Arrow.
ibang name. Even the suits themselves, marami din ibang name.
True though, yes. May ano pa nga ako eh. May nabasa ako na parang there's like a recurring theme sa all four suits regarding dun sa aces, sa twos, sa threes, fours. May
Mm.
ano siya, may
Usually.
recurring theme.
Oo.
Oo.
Pero ito-tweet ko na lang yan.
Sige, hanapin na
Ay.
lang natin yan.
Oo.
Hanapin nyo na lang yan. So, ako, ang i-discuss ko for today's videoability ay the Suit of Swords. The scariest suit ever.
Well, actually,
Oo.
mamaya natin i-discuss. Sige.
But yeah, yun nga, the Suit of Swords corresponds to the element of air. Imagine this element when you see a Swords tarot card. Wind can be sharp. It carries messages clear and transparent so that it lets you see things plainly. The Suit of Swords represents our capacity for thinking and logic. When the Suit of Swords appears in a tarot reading, they can signify what our rational mind says, as well as the things that are related to communication and sometimes conflict. Sometimes, parang buong
Ang lagi naman.
halos buong ano yun. Pero may nabasa rin ako na yun nga may part, yung swords talaga yung pinaka nakaka-scary na suits pag lumabas siya. Pero
it's very cutting yung meaning.
it
nun.
is, and it's a lot about deception and trickery and stuff.
Oo.
But at the same time, the swords also parang signify our mental capacity to see through the deception.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's about the thinking mind.
Double-edged niya.
Yes,
Oo.
very intellect
Oo.
yung pinamumunuan ng Suit of Swords. Now, the Suit of Swords strengths muna. Ang strengths nila are all in the realm of thought, like we mentioned. Intelligence. Intelligence and communication. It is how we structure our world, organize and analyze data, and this provides us with knowledge and clarity. People that are connected to the Suit of Swords are curious, logical, disciplined, moral, and fair. Now, yung weaknesses naman ng Suit of Swords, within the tarot, the Suit of Swords can also be a problematic one, like we mentioned. Think of the swords being able to be used for both good and evil. It has the power to save, sever, or to hurt. Therefore, this element is also associated with conflict, aggression, and violence. At its worst, the Suit of Swords can use logic and words to bully and intimidate. Yung reversed swords cards naman daw usually have to do with feelings of ruthlessness, coldness, and confusion.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's yun nga parang using your mind
Yes.
to
Cold, hard intellect.
Cash?
Walang feelings. Sana. Pero dun yung sa suits mo eh. Pero yeah, it's clear-cut, cold, logic, and mental stuff. Walang feelings involved. Ganon.
Very objective.
Tapos, very quick lang correspondences ng Suit of Swords. So, ayun nga, ang element niya is air. Ang keywords for the Suit of Swords is logic, ideas, intellect, and communication. Ang duality niya ay active. Ang astrological signs associated with this is Gemini or are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Obviously, mga air signs.
Air signs.
Ang alternate name ng suit na to ay Spades. The one that we know. Ayun.
Okay. Ayun. Tapos ano pala, pasingit lang. Yun pala, yung other name for page is knave.
Yes.
Knave for jack. Navel.
Pusod?
Ito yun eh.
Navia. Char.
Pwede din sunscreen. Charot. Lalong summer. Ayan. Pero yun, ano siya, parang it could be the jack din. So, ang knight ang wala sa solitaire deck, no?
Yep. Yung playing
Wala
cards.
bang knight sa solitaire deck?
Wala.
Ay, hindi ko alam yun na.
Hindi ka naglalaro, T?
Ay, like yung the normal baraha ba?
Oo. The solitaire deck.
Jack, Queen, King yun eh.
King, oo.
Yeah, wala.
So wala. Yeah.
Okay. But yes, wala
Ayun.
siya doon.
So, having said that, the knave. Shut up. Well, let's go to ano naman. Very quick meanings for each
Mm.
card. 14 lang naman to. Huwag kayong mabore kasi 11 minutes pa lang tayo
Oo.
Oo.
So,
recording. Mukhang
Mabilis lang
mabilis lang
to.
to mga episodes na to.
Oo.
depende sa
So,
chika
yeah.
in between.
Correct.
Oo. So, isa-isahin natin ngayon in divination yung meanings nila. Ayoko isa-isahin yung cards. Kasi
Oo,
masyado.
okay na eh. For
Oo.
visual. Hindi rin
Oo.
sunod-sunod yun sa
Wag
akin.
na. Oo,
Hindi
ako
rin
din
sunod-sunod
yun
yun
nga
sa
eh.
akin eh.
So let's start with the Ace of Swords.
Mm.
One of the greatest, one of my favorites actually. One of my favorite cards sa tarot is the Ace of Swords. Ang attribute niya is the Reaver. Yung ilog.
Yung
Hindi, joke lang.
ilog.
The river! The river! Bakit alam niya rin yung ano? Alam natin yung
Deliver kasi siya.
Oo, the river!
The river na. The Reaver as in Reaver. I don't know.
VER,
What is the
oo.
Reaver? Anyway.
Hindi ba parang ano siya, parang something that
Parang
has to do with ano din,
reaping?
oo,
It's
with death.
plundering raid, parang ganon.
Okay.
Okay, to go on a plundering raid, oo nga daw. So
Parang
to
ganon.
reave.
Yun nga yung
Yeah.
alam ko eh, kasi na ano ko siya
Sa
yung series na Firefly.
ang alam ko lang na river kasi talaga yung Pasig River. Charot.
Talaga, hindi mo alam yung Marikina?
Marikina River. Hindi, ang alam ko lang river, yung skin line sa Valorant.
Yeah,
Oo.
that's it. The plundering thing. Anyway, ang attribute niya is the Reaver, and ang meaning ng Ace of Swords is indicates decisive ability, cutting through confusion, taking a radical decision or standpoint, and the ability to see through deception and expose it.
Mm.
So, ano to, pag lumalabas to sa reading mo, it means decisive action. Sure to te. Ganyan.
Sure.
You need to use your intellect to make a decision for things.
To
Ganyan.
solve it. Oo.
Yes.
Or to start it, pwede din.
Oo.
Kailangan mo na mag-decide.
Yan yung isa sa mga gusto kong cards dito kasi parang clarity of of mind.
Of mind.
Diba? Ang ganda. Tapos ito na, palala na siya ng palala. Two of Swords.
It started off great.
It started. Oo.
Diba? Ito yung parang jowa mo na ganda-ganda ng honeymoon face. Tapos, after that,
Surprise.
it gets worse. Anyway, the Two of Swords, ang attribute niya is the choice. Now, the Two of Swords indicates doubt over decisions, a sense of powerlessness and apathy, giving way to fear. And if the other cards in the spread are favorable, then the Two of Swords can indicate lack of bias and even-mindedness. So, kung maganda yun nasa paligid niya, ibig sabihin, unbiased yung yung magiging decision mo. Otherwise, you're unsure of your decision. You're doubting your decision and you're kind of powerless
Oo.
about
Okay.
the choices that you have. Kasi siya yung ate girl na naka-blindfold.
Yeah.
May hawak na
Parang justice.
dalawang swords. Pero nakaganon yung swords. Wakanda forever.
Ano din pag lumalabas din yan, parang ang basa ko nga dyan minsan is parang you're stuck between two decisions or two pathways na gusto mong puntahan, but nothing seems logical. Or parang, diba, ang hirap pag-desisyonan.
Kasi they're both two choices na gusto mo and it's tough to decide between the two. Unlike dun sa Pentacles na 2, pero saka na natin pag-uusapan yan.
Yeah.
But yeah, eto na. Next is the Three of Swords. The heart with three swords pierced through it. It's also called the wound. And this card represents the aspect of the mind which is overly critical, especially of itself. The perverse impulse to dissect a problem beyond the point of usefulness. And the Three of Swords are often depicted piercing a bleeding heart. The swords symbolize the intellect and the heart, the emotions, which always suffer under this treatment. Yung
Mm.
pagiging overthinker mo,
It's
yung
not
emotions
healthy.
mo, it's
Oo.
not good
Parang
for the heart.
oo,
Oo.
hindi kasi 'di ba it has to be mind and heart din naman at times. So parang Three of Swords din is
You're
quite
suppressing.
literally
Mm.
suppressing your emotions, parang
Your usage of the mind.
of the mind. Oo, you're setting yourself up for heartbreak nga, 'di ba?
Yes, the
Ayun.
heartbreak. That's the
Mm.
common meaning ng Three of Swords. Na parang you're you're using too much of your
Your
thoughts
head,
for this.
oo.
Your head. Na basta hindi siya fun.
True.
Anyway, ayun. So, ang kasunod naman niya ay the Four of Swords, obviously. And it's also called the effigy.
Bakit?
Yung tatay ni Grace Poe. De joke lang. No, it's the effigy. Kasi ito yung card na may parang sarcophagus.
Mm.
Tapos, di ba, effigy na sa ibabaw niya. Like an
Ah,
image
okay.
of
Mm.
a
Oo.
human. So the Four of Swords symbolizes avoidance, setting problems to the side, the swords on the wall, yung tatlong swords na nasa wall, while
Oo.
one prays for deliverance. This card can also represent surrender or in some cases pacifism.
Yeah.
Ang common ano ko dito is burnout.
Mm.
Oo.
Na you need rest and not just sleep. Like
Mm.
profound
Oo.
rest
Found
from
rest. Yeah.
tuko ka na girl. Pahinga mo yan.
Mm.
Ganon.
Kasi ano din parang ang 'di ba in the image, you've used up your swords at isa na lang yan natitira mo. So that's kumbaga your last bullet or
Last
your last
straw.
sword.
Oo.
Oo.
Tsaka
So
yung kung
recuperate na.
iisipin mo, galing ka dun sa parang may sort of journey rin siya. Like, galing ka dun sa Two of Swords, na nahirapan ka sa choice. So, you overthought, you're overthinking. That's why you got the Three of Swords, which damages your feelings na. And then, napagod ka na.
Mm.
Oo.
Mm.
Four of Swords ka na.
Oo. Alam mo yung mga days minsan na parang hindi ka makapag-isip na maayos na you have to like i-sleep it off or like i-nap mo lang ganun.
True.
'Di ba? That's that word
Pwede yun. Or like actual, take a break from everything.
Mm.
Get away from things. Stop
Vacation
thinking.
talaga.
Mm.
Which leads us to the Five of Swords, the Traitor.
Sa
Mm.
betrayal.
Card
Oo.
symbolizes victory by betrayal. The emptiness which descends after a harsh struggle, the alienation of others through belligerence or violence. Diba?
Mm.
Parang, nilaban mo nga girl, but at what cost?
At what cost? Oo. Parang
Ito yung
baka may
galing ka
apakan ka.
Oo, ganda nung sinabi ni VP kanina yung Four of Swords, like yung last bullet mo na. Nilaban mo nanalo ka, but at what cost?
Yes.
Diba?
Mm.
Sinong natapakan mo? Anong kinailangan mong i-sacrifice for it?
For it, correct.
Diba?
Mm.
Yan.
Tas minsan 'di ba warning din kasi yung card na yan na 'di ba either someone or you might just find yourself betraying yourself.
Oo.
Yan.
May
Diba?
nagpa-plan na mag-betray sa'yo, parang ganun.
Oo. Or you're setting yourself up for failure
Or,
din.
oo.
Oo.
Ikaw na mismo. Oo.
Binetray
Diba?
mo yung
Parang
sarili
kasi
mo.
if you think about it, even if you win, even if you get what you want, pero yung kapalit niya medyo mabigat, I
Mabigat.
don't think it's a win. Diba?
Mm. Totoo. Parang if it's only going to cause you more stress or more worry or 'di ba hindi ka rin fulfilled in the end. Parang yung sa world card nga, 'di ba? Parang kung reverse world lang din yung magiging ending niyan, para saan pa?
Diba?
Correct.
Wag na lang.
Hindi
Diba?
fun. Mm.
Chat pag lumabas tong Five of Swords sa sa love reading, no? Like, yeah, you'll get what you want, but,
Oo, but
'di ba? But what
either
Ikaw
that
cost?
ulit.
or kapag tinanong mo, "May kabit ba siya?" Tapos lumabas yan, "Ay girl, meron."
Eh,
Oo, 'di ba?
Sure na.
Or ikaw yung kabit.
Or ikaw yung kabit,
Oo.
Ikaw yung
Ikaw yung
nangagaw.
nade-deceive. Oo.
oo.
Oo. 'Di ba?
'Di ba? Alexa, play
Ginagaw mo
Solotera.
Ayan. So, next tayo, the Six of Swords, also known as the Boatman.
Mhm.
Ang meaning niya is a dangerous journey, or readers daw do not always agree on the alignment of this card kasi it can indicate a doomed endeavor, or conversely,
Okay.
you're moving out of troubled waters. Parang it
Ah,
also indicates responsibility for others. Kasi 'di ba
oo.
yung depiction niya is yung parang
Nagbibitbit.
yung nasa bangka.
Yung boat,
Oo.
oo,
Oo.
'di
So,
ba?
may nakasakay sa bangka, may nagro-row, tas may 6 na swords. Ang ano ko dito lagi is yung moving away from a bad situation.
Oo. It's progress in a sense na parang umalis
Hindi
ka
siya
because toxic
well,
siya. Hindi it's
oo.
not growth.
Oo.
Oo.
Hindi siya
Pero
growth.
it's movement, ayun.
Movement.
It's movement, it's
Like
travel.
it's not like a good kind of progress. Mabigat
Movement.
siya
Oo.
na movement na
Mm.
kailangan mong umalis kasi hindi na fun,
Mm.
'di ba?
Oo.
So you needed to move away from it. So yon, which leads us to the Seven of Swords, also known as the Thief. This card represents covert activities.
Ito, deception na.
Ito
Oo.
yung the attempt to get away with too much and being compromised as a result. If the reading is favorable, the card may represent making sacrifices to move ahead. Simplifying, it can also mean manipulative or dishonest behavior at play. Ito yon, yung sinasabi ni Nikki
Oo. Na
na
deception.
deception,
Mm.
yes. You got
Oo.
away with something na in a very dishonest manner. Ganon.
Mm.
Yarn.
Ano din yan eh, 'di ba pwede din kasi yung reversal naman yan is that hindi ka aware but you are parang ikaw yung
Diba?
nagiging cause nun of deception.
Parang
You're
yung isang meaning yung pagiging manipulative or dishonest. So, pag hindi ka aware na ganun ka na pala.
ganun ka na.
Oo.
Toxic ka na, B.
Toxic ka na, Bia.
Mm.
Very cancer behavior.
Oo.
Cancer yun sa ML ha, yung mga toxic players.
Oo.
Ah.
Hindi yung cancer as a sign. Kasi sa akin
Pwede
yun,
rin
sa
naman. But
toxic.
anyway, Eight of Swords. Move tayo sa Eight of Swords, also known as the Prisoner. Ang meaning nito, feeling trapped and oppressed by others and powerless to change. Often daw, the condition is self-imposed. But the cause is attributed to external influences. This card can also indicate the stubborn adherence to an ideal. Kumbaga, yung first meaning, you feel trapped, but you have the means to get away from that situation. If only you want to.
Ano to eh, parang minsan pag binabasa ko rin siya, ang pinaka-essence niya is denial.
Pwede rin.
Diba? There's a lot happening around you pero hindi mo siya tinitignan, hindi
You're
mo siya
choosing to stay
pinapansin.
there.
Oo.
Parang you could easily get away from this cage, but you're choosing to stay there. Bakit? Yun yung question doon. Parang yun
Diba?
nga rin yung second meaning yun, a stubborn adherence to an ideal. So
Kasi
you're
ayaw
choosing to
mong
stay.
hiwalayan. Oo.
Oo, exactly.
Diba? Parang are you staying for the kids? Malaki ba tite? Ano?
Oh my God,
What
no
is
dick
the
is that
reason?
good. Always remember this.
Exactly.
No
Tos-
dick is that good.
Oo.
Para ipagpalit ang happiness mo.
Kahit 8 pa yan.
8 pulgada,
8
gano'n.
pulgada.
Malados
5
por dos,
Earth.
ganyan.
Yan.
The trauma is not worth it.
Tama, oo. Imaginin mo na
Stigmatize
malados
lang tayo. Huwag tayo
Mal-
ma-traumatize.
malados por dos, sumakanto din. Kasama.
Kwadrado.
Ano to? Kahoy.
Tapos hindi siya yung fresh na dos por dos ha. Ito yung galing na sa
Dried.
sa building. May pako to sa ibang places.
Oh Lord.
AKA Bulitas. Charot.
Or dos por dos pero
Ah.
coco lumber. So maganit.
Oo,
May mga may fraying sa
Lugsog-lugsog.
edges. Oh. My God. Tapos nakakasalugsog. Oo.
Pero for real, for
Mm.
fur, no dick is that good to
Yes,
stay
correct.
in a very toxic situation or a toxic relationship. So,
Oo,
honey,
or not even parang not just dicks but other things din in general, parang any other reason na you feel is the reason for staying na lang.
pinang-justify mo.
Baka
Oo.
pinanjo-justify mo na lang, oo. 'Di ba?
Nah.
Baka gumagawa ka na lang ng reason. So,
Nah,
rethink.
baby
Yung,
girl.
Si
Baby boy,
rose-colored
no.
glasses. Oo.
Mm. Ito na
Speaking of
yung
rose-colored glasses, may nakita akong TikTok na sinave ko nga na parang there's always this one friend sa tropa na single, pero sila yung magaling magbigay ng relationship advice. Pero wala silang relationship.
Pero wala silang relationship.
You know why they're good at it daw? Kasi they don't see the situation behind rose-colored glasses.
They
Exactly.
see it clearly as it
They
is.
see it
Oo.
clearly. Oo.
Hindi sila
And
invested.
And hindi sila mag-i-invest kung yun nga yung
Kumbaga,
nakikita nila.
nakita nila sa
Oo.
relasyon mo yung red flags, ikaw
yung
kasi
red
hindi.
flag. Oo.
Oo.
Hindi, kasi totoo naman sometimes you need an outside perspective. Actually, yun din yung sinasabi ko kapag lumalabas yung card na to, na baka you need an outside perspective kasi medyo nagbubulag-bulagan ka na sa sitwasyon.
Yes, girl. Nako.
Oo. Paano yan? Pink talaga yung tint ng glasses ko. So,
Si VP nakikita niya na talaga na kulay rosa sa bukas.
tama.
Ganda.
Oo.
Literally.
Diba? Hindi lang kulay rosa sang bukas. It helps with eye strain din. Oh.
Ay, oo. Reduces the blue light kinemperlers.
Diba? Maraming benefits ang rosas. So, pada rin siyang sa skin.
Correct.
Rose water, ganyan.
Tama.
Anyway, from the Eight of Swords, we go to the Nine of Swords, also known as the Nightmare.
Loss of sleep.
Nakakainis yung mga also known as nila, parang mga
Literal.
pangalan ng mga nakakatakot na boss sa isang video game.
Somewhere. Sa Elden Ring.
Sa Elden Ring.
Ganyan, oo.
Actually,
O kaya,
Elden Ring is one whole nightmare. It's a whole nightmare.
or RE, ganon.
Alam nyo, scary ng Bloodborne. Anyway, the Nightmare, meaning tarot readers daw do not generally like to categorize cards as bad or good, but the Nine of Swords is probably the most dreaded card in the deck. Ako hindi. Parang ako hindi.
Ako din hindi ko siya dinedread, but it's very tough love yung card na to eh.
Kind of. Sabi dito, however, it can indicate the process of letting go of grief, and in combination with healing cards like the Queen of Wands, it can be highly beneficial. Ang ko kasi dito, ang interpretation ko sa Nine of Swords minsan, parang depende ha. The worst is over. Parang you came from a very terrible situation, like a very bad situation, a very traumatic situation. However, you're at this point in your life, the worst is over. Especially kung nasa future,
Kung nasa future siya.
reading siya, oo.
Oo.
Pero
Pero kasi pag nasa present siya, parang yun eh.
You're in the nightmare.
Bothered siya.
You're in it.
Bothered by the nightmare siya. Currently.
You're in it.
You're in it.
And it. Saka,
British.
pag lumabas siya sa present or sa self card, dun talaga, parang sinasabi ko na, I'm so sorry to tell you, pero you're in a bad place. Ganon.
This is the bad place.
This is the bad place. It is the bad place.
It is.
Fork it!
Diba?
But yeah, yun. So,
Mm.
depende sa positioning niya. Pero, yeah, it could be the bad place. Or it could be coming from the bad place. Like,
Correct.
it's over. Pero, your ordeals are not yet over dahil pupunta po tayo ngayon sa Ten of
Meron pa.
Swords. Meron pa.
Meron
Hindi pa
pa.
tayo tapos. Ten of Swords is called the corpse. After all that you've been through, deads ka na.
Nategi. Oo, namatay.
Sige. Sa
Tegi
hirap
bomb.
naman ang pinagdaanan mo, 'di ba?
Very
Oo,
ordeal
nategi
talaga
pa.
yung swords. Suit of
Namatay.
Swords eh. Naalala ko yung yung meme na parang mga D&D illustrations. Tapos like there's this giant person or like a giant boss bitch holding a sword.
Mm.
Oo.
Tapos may maliit na tao sa harapan niya, nakalaban
Yun,
niya.
yun ka. Oo. Yun yung
Ikaw yung
lens
reader.
character mo. Oo.
Ito yung Suit of Swords, yung giant.
Oo.
Nagtatanong lang naman po, bakit naman po ganun yung labas?
Totoo.
Naman ang lala.
Yeah, so the Ten of Swords, also known as the Corpse, says here the nightmare in the Nine of Swords comes to an end in the 10. That's ka.
Oo.
Kasi wala na, kaya
Kasi
nag-end.
wala ka ng nightmare kasi namatay ka.
Kasi wala ka.
Died. Yung meme na you died.
You died. Sa Dark Souls.
Sa Dark Souls. So there may be exhaustion and the result may not be ideal, but the ordeal is over and the truth has been outed finally. The
Mhm.
Ten of Swords can also indicate the end of a repetitious cycle. Also, ang isa pang meaning ko dito is betrayal, pero at least here, alam mo na.
Oo. Parang
Yeah.
na-open na yung eyes mo.
Nabunyag.
Yung
Oo.
betrayal sa'yo. So, ayun na nga. The everything is over. You died.
Pero yun nga, ang kapalit, napagod ka, namatay ka.
Napagod ka. Oo.
Yeah. Pero
Hindi, saka
yeah.
pag lumalabas to sa future card din, or actually, general Celtic cross-spread, itong Ten of Swords, pag lumalabas, parang ang inaano ko is, whatever you're working through right now, hindi siya worth it. Parang,
Mapapagod ka.
mapapagod ka. Pag natapos siya, parang, it's just gonna stab you in the back. Ganon.
Yeah, it's a whole there's so many layers of betrayal around this card. Pwedeng hindi siya outright betrayal, but like for example, yung efforts mo hindi worth it. So parang na-betray yung efforts mo, kumbaga. Diba? Parang mga ganong meanings and stuff. So medyo hindi siya fun card. Walang fun card dito sa Suit of Swords.
Tragic siya actually. Isa lang.
Kaya napupunta to sa air signs eh.
Bakit? Hindi ba tama?
Ay, grabe ka. As a Gemini, wala kaming red flags.
You are the red flag.
No. We have fun facts.
Which are still red flags.
Yun na nga yan. Fun fact, hindi ako nagre-reply for 2 days.
Oo nga, hindi nga siya red flag kasi you're aware of it. Ang
Fun
ganda.
fact, marami akong kausap talking stage. Charot. Wait lang. Nung isang araw, inisip ko yun bigla eh. Kasi parang, is there something wrong? Or is it wrong if you have multiple talking stages with people?
Hindi naman. I don't think
Hindi.
so.
Talking
Or depende
stages,
sa level.
hindi naman parang hindi pa naman siya concrete.
Oo eh. As
It's
long
like
as you're not like
know it.
exclusively dating, oo.
Yeah, oo. Kung wala kayong agreement of exclusivity sa talking stage, I don't see anything wrong na marami kang ka-talking stage.
Totoo. Saka
And
minsan,
I don't think they could expect din yung mga ka-talking stage.
Parang,
Kasi number one, hindi nyo naman dinefine.
diba? Saka yun, kakamatch nyo lang sa Tinder. Kailangan ako lang kausap mo ha. Ulul.
Too much. That's too much.
Diba? Talking is talking. It's fine. As long as you're not committed to anyone, not just yet.
Exactly.
Oo. Parang play your cards however you like. It's up to you naman.
At saka, parang ang ano ko dito, like, in an older millennial parlance, this is the getting to know stage.
Mm.
Oo.
So yeah, there's nothing wrong. Explore your options. Have 15 talking stages kung kaya mo.
Kung kaya mo
Sabay-sabay.
replyan
Kung
lahat,
kaya
eh,
ng mental ano mo, ng
Call
mental
center ka,
capacity
girl.
mo.
Dami mong
Oo.
kausap.
'di ba?
Paghalo-halo mo na sila
Support
mamaya.
lahat ka-chat.
Diba? Call
Mm.
center yarn. Anyway, after the Ten of Swords, we go to the
So,
Page of Swords, the court
page.
Ayan,
cards.
mm.
Mm.
It's called the Spy. Ang meaning naman niya, the ability to observe others keenly while concealing one's own nature. The
Okay.
talent for keeping secrets, keeping one's head in the face of danger, or the ability to endure suspense.
Mm.
Um, ang isa ko ring interpretation sa Page of Swords is parang you're looking out. You're ready to
Oo.
strike. So parang
This
medyo beneficial
ano,
to sa akin.
oo, saka parang ito yung si Page of Swords is yung parang may malalaman ka girl,
Mm.
eye-opening, gano'n. It's a revelation. Ang
Ayan.
tsismis mainit, gano'n.
Oo.
Yes. The message is here, ready to strike. Upo na.
Mm.
Mm.
'Di ba, alamin mo na girl.
Nakaupo na po ba ang lahat? Ganon.
Mm.
Oo.
But yeah, it's those.
Mm.
Parang it's ready to strike. Yun lang yun. Basically, keyword niya. Punta tayo sa Knight of Swords, the Berserker.
Ay!
Mhm.
Ang meaning niya is wrath, impatience, fanaticism, blind addiction to action as opposed to thought. Also may indicate initiative and courage. Pero ang pinaka-ano ko dyan is you're forging ahead except na you're not looking.
Oo.
Okay.
Yun.
Parang
Parang
umaatake ka
matangkad na
without
lang.
a plan. Oo.
Mm.
Diba? Tandaan, pagtatawid po tayo, look left, look right, look up, look down.
Bakit may up and down?
Kasi malay mo sa Makati ka tumatawid tapos may ginagawang building, diba?
Ang sabagay,
Ay,
oo.
oo. Dami doon. Tsaka, tama din yung look up and down kasi maraming ano doon, underpass.
Oh,
Mm.
isa pa yan, diba?
Na,
Malay
dadapa
mo.
ka na lang, nahulog ka na lang, gumulong ka na lang
Bye.
pababa.
Makati ka pa nadapa. Diyos ko.
Ano,
Diyan.
wapoys. Oh,
Oo.
wapoys ka doon, friend. Tapos rush hour.
I know!
Or lunch
Oh,
rush.
lunchtime.
Oo, wapoys.
Tapos tawid mo dun sa may paseo.
Wapoys.
Ay, nako. But yeah, yun.
Mm.
So, tingin bago umatake. Yun lang.
Oo, warning talaga yung card na to eh, yung Knight of Swords eh. 'Di ba?
Pero depende sa
You're
ano,
losing your patience.
depende sa
Oo.
mga nakapaligid sa kanya. So, kung beneficial naman yung other cards, it's
So,
a
good na
signal
po
that,
na.
yes, go, push.
Mm.
Kahit
Careful
walang
ka lang.
tignan, oo.
Careful ka lang, pero go, push. Gano'n. Which leads us to the Queen of Swords, also known as the Widow.
Ay.
Hindi ko alam bakit.
Vondu. Charot.
Widow Vondu.
Drag queen pala.
Ang meaning niya, this card symbolizes independence at its best. It's power, intelligence, tactical thinking, the ability to streamline a problem and find a solution without fuss. At worst, the Queen of Swords can represent isolation, depression, and cruelty. That's the worst. Pero ang isa kong ano dito is intellect with a little bit of heart.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, yung ano ko sa Queen of Swords na use your mind mostly, but don't forget to be compassionate.
Yeah, parang guided pa rin naman siya by your emotions, your gut feel or your intuition. Actually, mas intuition siya rather than just
Diba?
Oo,
The women's
thinking mind.
intuition.
Oo, guided siya by your intuition. So, it's actually a good sign. This is, I think, the most positive of the swords.
Bukod sa ace.
Oo. Oo. Pero kasi si Ace may double-edged din siya eh.
Double-edged din siya eh. Like,
Dildo.
could be very cold.
Oo.
Oo, may ano pa rin siya.
Sharp. Ganun. So, si Queen of Swords, ito yung the good use of a sword.
Yes. You know how
Yeah.
to use the sword.
As opposed to the King of Swords, which
Yun.
other name niya is the Warlord. It's discipline, power, and insight, and can often symbolize tyranny. Ang ano dito,
Impunity,
gusto ko
oo.
pang ano dito is pure logic,
Yeah,
objective,
you're letting your mind take over.
yes,
Mm.
no emotions whatsoever, cold-hearted, ganon.
Yon, cold-hearted.
Pero decisive.
Mm.
Pero yun nga, medyo harsh.
Again, at what cost?
At
Medyo
what
harsh
cost?
siya. As compared kay Queen, na may sort of compassion pa rin yung
Mm.
pagiging decisive niya. Pero si King, decisive siya at wala siyang pake.
Yeah.
Correct. I don't care about your feelings.
I
Oo.
don't care. Umaarte.
Very ano, 'di ba? Very dictator tyrant yung ano talaga. Galawan ni King of Swords.
Mm-mm.
Mm.
Yun. Parang puro ka isip, wala kang puso.
Mm. Actually parang ano yung swords, itong as a deck, inaano ko siya, parang kina-classify ko siya kapag lumalabas sa spread as more of warning cards. Kasi kailangan mo siyang isipin kailangan mo siyang parang you need a little bit of
You need your
force.
mind.
Oh, you need
You
your
need
mind.
presence of mind pag lumabas tong mga to.
Pag
Yun nga,
lumabas.
like what we said na bukod sa mga ano niya, mga harsh meanings, it's also a call for us to be mentally present sa mga situations sa buhay mo.
Be prepared, parang ganun.
Ganun. Gamitin. Diba?
Yun lang, I'm done.
Oh,
I'm done with this whole thing.
Table flip.
Gano'n, table flip.
Sinarado na lang yung ano yun. Sinarado na lang laptop bigla.
Oo.
Pagod yung swords talagang ito yung ano.
Sobra,
Di ba
ang bigat niya.
Last few weeks, yun yung bunot ko. Puk! 9 of Swords talaga. Puntang ina.
Girl. Sabi,
Wala na
ayan.
akong nagawa. 9 of Swords. Oh, sige.
Sige.
Ako, tinigilan ko na yung ano, kakabunot for love life kasi ano, lumabas na si 3.
Ayun na nga.
Ay, sabi ko, ay tama na, tigil na natin ito.
Ito na yung after ng talking stage, anong kasunod?
Self-love.
Self-love. Correct.
Pero talaga, like, kasi ang kulit ko. Like, almost every week, nagsaspread ako about relationships. Till lumabas na si 3 of Swords.
Ayan.
Putang ina ka, ha? Ayaw mo tumigil, ha?
Linggo-linggo
kasi.
Linggo-linggo mo. Sabi kasi sa'yo, nung umpisa pa lang, wala yan,
Diba?
Yung unang lumalabas pa, puro wands. Yung mga hard work.
Ay, hard work. Tapos biglang betrayal? Ay, heartbreak?
Sabi ko, sige, willing naman akong trabahuhin.
No?
Until dumating si Swords. Ay, hindi, wag na pala.
Wag na pala, oo.
Worth it, gano'n.
I get it.
Okay, the signs are there.
Ano yun isa yung very telling sign nga na parang enough na be, ayan. Kaya sobrang bigat nitong Swords, hindi ko nasingit yung mid-roll spills natin, which is pwede nyo kami i-follow sa Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at TikTok at Tsaastrology for other Tsaastrology content na minsan bardahan, minsan sayahan, pero laging may tsaahan. Wow, may gano'n.
Yes, may gano'n. Sa Tagalog.
Diba? Okay. And speaking of following, don't forget to follow and subscribe din sa aming Spotify at YouTube channels. Kung nakikinig or nanonood kayo, click nyo na yung button na yan, follow and subscribe. And yung bell icon para notified kayo of every new episode. And syempre, bigyan nyo kami ng 5 stars. Please naman, mag-rate naman kayo sa Spotify. Road to 100, gano'n.
Konti lang, 11 na lang, no?
True, upon recording of this episode. Wow, may gano'n.
As of recording.
As of recording. Ayan. And ang next kung sasabihin ay Tsaastrology is part of the Bank Collective. So just visit thebankph.com to see all of the podcasts na kasama namin dyan. Kasi hindi lang kami yon, of course. Meron tayong isang buong community of podcasters na mga Pinoy podcasters na fun din naman pakinggan. So punta lang kayo dyan and follow The Bank PH on their socials, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. At huling-huli sa lahat, na gusto kong sabihin ay suportahan lamang kami through ko-fi.com/Tsaastrology para bigyan kami ng pang tosino because we badly need it. Charot.
Bigyan ko kayo ng nudes. Charot.
Ay, noodles. Yun yung
Nudes as in
ibigay mo.
Noods.
Oo.
Noodles.
Ayan. So, yun lang. Sinabi ko lang yung spills natin. Actually, magko-closing na rin tayo because we have 3 more to go. Meron pa tayong cups, wands, at pentacles. So, abangan nyo lang yan sa mga susunod pang linggo. Di ba mga kati? Oh,
Uy,
saya.
wow.
Mm.
This is less than an hour.
Diba?
Oo.
True.
Mabilis lang eh.
Nadaan sa chika. Oh, kasi very straightforward naman yung cards na to. Eh. So, yeah.
Because they're very decisive, cutting edge.
Tama.
Straightforward.
Very sword. Oo. Yun. So, sige, magpapaalam muna kami for this episode. Kaya maraming salamat sa panonood at sa pakikinig. Ako ngayon yung astrologer na Virgo ng si VP na the only thing we're spreading here are legs. Charot.
Hindi ko expect yun.
No words. No words.
And for a split second, my mind went tuna spread.
Pwede din yun.
Ay. I was shocked. nawala yung ano eh.
Momentum.
But it's okay. Ayun, and this has been your Tsaastrologer na Scorpio na siniking nagsasabing I hate 9 of cards and 10 of cards. And 10 of swords. I hate them both.
So
Lumabas sila parehas in the past few
kaya
weeks.
naman pala.
Kaya,
Yeah, konting push na lang, it's gonna be over.
It's over na. Napagod lang naman ako. Okay na yun.
Napagod ka na. And this has been your astrologer Gemini na si Berna nagsasabing, knife cuts like a knife. How will I ever be? I'm so deeply wounded.
Oh,
love
Lord.
you, lyrics. Bye.